Your supplements are placeholders for things that you're missing in your life. Because what are supplements doing? Even like, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but going down that rabbit hole is not fun. Or you can flip it and make it fun and be like, look how much y'all are placeboing yourselves with supplements, people. If you go look at how many supplements actually have what they say in it, that's why I started moving away from it in practice, because I'm like, the supplement could ruin the efficacy of my medicine. That was a danger point for me. This supplement, like when you get the feedback of like, hey, we did a recall on the bee pollen because it had methotrexate in it. You're like, say what? So like the truth, like when you go seek truth, go look at the truth and then always give yourself the positive of it. So yes, most of us were duped by what's actually in supplements, supplement manufacturing, ingredient purity, all of those different things. What's the positive flip side? Because that's what I'm always going to do forever in my life. If it had any effect, it was you, sweetie, not the supplement. You actually had to do double because the supplement was causing damage. So if you actually improved, that was you being more powerful than even somebody trying to keep you down.
Welcome to the FWD Think Tank Podcast, a place of hope, inspiration, and education around holistic health and healing. I'm your host, Jamie Mazza, a holistic health coach, mental health advocate, and dancer. Join me as I share out-of-the-box conversations with integrative doctors, healers, and exceptional forward-thinking individuals thriving on the other side of their health challenges, as well as stories from my own personal healing journey. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so happy you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the FWD Think Tank. I am about to release a series of episodes with the brilliant and truly unique individual that is Dr. Cassie Wuthrich. So this episode is so chock full of wisdom, of ways of thinking about life and healing so differently. And this woman is somebody who, honestly, my friend Callie introduced me to on social media. And I was just like, wow, everything she says, my mind is just like blown, because she offers so many unique perspectives that are honestly so simple, but it takes everything that we know about the overwhelming information out there in the world and drills it down to like really simple truths, is the best way that I can put it. And this woman has the stamina, the energy, the mental bandwidth of no one that I have ever seen before. And she gave me 4 hours of her time. So Dr. Cassie, if you're listening to this playback, I appreciate you so much. I'm just so drawn to you and the way that you think about things. I was ecstatic when you agreed to do this podcast episode. We did record this quite a few months ago, but because of the length of time, I wanted to break it up into digestible parts when it got released. Whoever is finding themselves drawn to her and her work, continue to listen to everything that she shares in this episode, because truthfully, I had so many questions prepared and it ended up being more like a live masterclass. We talked candidly before we started recording, and she's like, okay, do you want this to be more like a Q&A of what's going on with you and we can dive into you? And I said, no, let's kind of keep it general to people who may be listening, because everybody who shows up to this podcast has different reasons for being here, whether they're healing on their own journey or they're looking to help others. And so I'd rather not keep it all about me. She really has a way of poeticizing her thoughts and flipping the script on even some of my reactions to what she was sharing. So it was a very interesting and unique episode, and one I think that so many people will learn from. I do want to give you a little bit of background on Dr. Cassie. Dr. Cassie Wuthrich is a naturopathic doctor, educator, speaker, and founder of Grit Inc. Through her own journey of healing the impossible and working with many patients that had tried it all in both allopathic and naturopathic worlds without success, she discovered truths that she now utilizes through her medicine and online classes to help others realize their true potential and optimal health, and ultimately show them how to obtain freedom from the medical system. Dr. Cassie's passion is to provide medicine that heals and education that demystifies healing. Her medicine weaves together the modern world of quantum medicine with the unchangeable truths held in ancient wisdom. She helps her clients understand the language of their body through a deep listening and understanding of how all things, including the mind, action, neurology, relationships, heart, and soul, impact the physical body. She focuses on all that encompasses the human and believes that with true understanding, truth, and grit, you can do what most say is impossible. Above all, she believes, lives, and teaches that your life is your medicine. Your life is your medicine is a common theme that shows up in this conversation, is something that shows up in a lot of the episodes that I've listened to that she has done on other people's podcasts. And when I tell you, she just has such a unique way of looking at things. It's truly transformational to sit down and listen to this episode. It is like a giant masterclass of life. So I welcome Dr. Cassie to this podcast. I am so grateful for her being here. Know that this will be a 2-part listen, and I hope you enjoy it. Please leave feedback, ask us questions. We want to hear from you. I truly thank you, Dr. Cassie, for being here. So with no further ado, please welcome Dr. Cassie Wuthrich to the Forward Think Tank.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forward Think Tank. Today, I have a guest that when I have these little downloads from, the universe, God, just like these gut feelings telling me to do something, I went out on a whim and I reached out to this incredible woman that is here with me today, Dr. Cassie Wuthrich. Thank you for being here. You are a naturopathic doctor, educator, speaker, the founder of Grit Inc. I just appreciate so much of the wisdom that you share. I'm so excited to get to know a little bit more about you and how you practice this with your patients, because I see you're removing a lot of the blocks and barriers of people being on that continuous hamster wheel of chronically healing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you help people kind of break through those restrictions to say, okay, how can you truly live your life? And I know something that you live by is the fact that your life is your medicine. When I heard you say that for the first time, I was like, because I have been living in this little world trying to pigeonhole myself to get my body to respond perfectly. But in the meantime, as I shared with you as before we started recording, it's I've taken a lot of my life away from my day-to-day existence. And I'm feeling that more and more to be if my life is my medicine, I'm not living right now. So what am I doing? So long story short, I'm just really grateful for you being here. I had a friend, Callie, who introduced me to some of your work through social media. And I was like, this makes so much sense. And at the same time, I have a million questions. So thank you for being here.
I love the cosmic winks and those little paths that cross and you meet other people on the path. So I know that that's exactly what this is. And I also love the audacity in you to reach out and to go on a hunch, right? Because when we follow those hunches are actually intuition.
Yes.
Allowing for something here for both of us and for something to be created. There's this beautiful song that I love by the band Bon Iver. I used to think it was a man, but I learned recently that it's a whole band. And he has this quote that nothing stays the same, but what's going to remain is what we create. And so here we're creating something that's going to remain far past this moment, that hunch, my work, your work, everything that we've brought into this moment. So there's this beautiful opportunity of so many things that had to happen in your life to be able to have this conversation. So many things had to happen in my life to be able to have this conversation. So many things had to happen in so many other people's lives to be here to listen to it. And then if we're available for everything that can happen in these moments, that's when we create something so much more. It allows us to touch something infinite through us, yes. Right? And so I think that that's the start of the most amazing conversation, is everything that we have to consider of what came into even getting us to this conversation. Because hearing a little bit about you resonates with so much of where I come from too. Of if we think back to a version of us that didn't go through being diagnosed with something incurable or something super scary. I think I was a great person back then, and I'm sure you were a great person back then too, but we wouldn't have accessed the level of us, the version of us that could have the conversation that we're about to have to bring the value that we are going to bring today. And so it's like a moment of honoring your journey up into this point and honoring mine up into this point, and everyone who will listen to this of we aren't who we used to be. And that's exactly the reason that we're here. And then hopefully we can catalyze, solidify, or remind each other of something in each other that carries us past this point in the journey, because the journey is the beauty. So that part excites me too, of like, we're here for a reason,
Yes.
right? Hardest part is that everything had to happen like it happened to get us here. And so there's something beautiful and exciting about that. If we can look at everything that happens as, there's another beautiful song by, I believe her name's Angie McMahon. And that,
I'm about to make a playlist from all the
okay,
songs.
I will send you a playlist. I speak in song, I sometimes.
I love
but
it.
she talks about how pain is a direction, and that pain will be in every season, right? And when I heard those lyrics, I was like, oh my gosh, I think that just said something I've never been able to put into words, and to look at those hard chapters and pain and trials and sadness and all the icky, yucky stuff we don't like, to be like, what if it was just north? Not bad, but a part of the whole compass of being directed and guided through life. And then so moments like this are like, okay, well, this is about to get really cool, because how we got here is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm so glad that you said that, because it's a great reminder, I think, for anybody who's listening, walking on a journey of some sort of challenge or hardship, whether that is with their health or relationships or something else that's causing them to feel like there's something to be fixed. It's a great reminder to embrace all of that and all the change that comes with it, because change is, I know it has been hard for me. I find myself mourning a lot of who I used to be and the things that I used to do. And as you're saying, when you look and you reflect on this entire journey, like, it truly has cracked me open in so many ways. I have really calmed down as a person. I used to be like a go, 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 do all the time. And now it's like, no, we can just be, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for that reminder.
Of course. And the other thing that I think would be interesting, that just keeps pinging in my mind, that you said earlier, is this constant feeling that something is wrong in us. And then from that perspective is our pursuit, right? How we go about fixing it, right? And you said earlier too, it's the chronic pursuit of healing.
Yes.
And if we put that through the lens of your life as your medicine, and nothing about you is wrong, it is just a reflection of the life that you're living. And then we say, we also have a chronic dis-ease. And then you're like, oh, wait. And then it was very interesting, like the metaphors that you reach for, a hamster wheel, being pigeonholed. So if you think about even what your soul is speaking in that is, I'm captive. I'm trying to kill myself. And the method with which I've chosen is to capture myself, to put myself in a little cage, to hide away, to perfect, like pick apart as best as I could. And then the results are, I'm not even getting to live the life that I thought I was going to get to live once I healed. So you see how that is the hamster wheel. Because even if you trace the verbal explanation of it, it's a circle. It's like, well, damn it, I'm back to where I started. I'm just a different kind of trapped, right? But the beauty of this too is this is showing you different parts of you as well. So I always say, like, because I look at my journey too, and I'm like, if I just would have known then all of this,
Right.
like, if I could go back to that girl, that woman, and say, hey, you don't need to change your body to change your life. You need to change your life to change your body. At least somebody would have given her something of truth, and she wouldn't have gone into the hamster. I call it like the tornado of like, what the heck is happening through intellectual accumulation, where you're just like, I knew more when I had no idea. Right. And that's a psychological state, right? The irony of that. Right. But that's exactly what most people find themselves in. So the journey that you're on was the journey that I was on. And it's probably the journey that a lot of women are on currently. And so the thing that I want to come in here and disrupt or interject is to say, you didn't do it wrong. You did the best you could with what you had. And the thing is, and the thing that, if I'm brutally, beautifully honest with myself, is if this version of me would have gone back to that version of me, even 10 years ago, and was like, hey, Cassie, you don't need to change your body to change your life. You need to change your life to change your body. She was all about research and science and evidence-based medicine. And she would have been like, oh yeah, no, that's cute and sweet. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Yeah.
day.
What does the research say?
Right. Where's your, can you cite,
Yeah.
was there a book? There wasn't a book. That's cute. Okay. So she wouldn't have been available for it. So literally the guru of all gurus could have been standing and teaching in front of her, and she wouldn't have been available for it. So then I look back and been like, okay, so she had to go through everything she went through to change her self-concept, to change her saviors. I used to look at modern medicine and doctors and research as like the one thing that was greater than all things, even though I had a religious background. I didn't run to God like I would run to an expert, right?
Yeah.
And so then when you think about you as a part of all of this, it's like, it had to happen that way.
Yeah.
Why? Because it happened that way. If you would have been available for different information back then, you would be in a different spot right now. So instead of raging against it, look at how freaking phenomenal, because I know how hard-headed I was and like how set in my ways I was. Like me trying to go back and change that woman's mind. Like it's funny. And like that's the beautiful part of our personalities. But with wisdom, now what I've learned is we don't just want intellect. Everybody is so freaking intelligent. What we need now is intelligent matched with wisdom.
Yes.
And the capacity to know when to persist and when to release your grip and walk away and say, it's not that there's sunk costs there. I spent all this time hoping that supplements and all of this would work and there's truth in it. And I spent so much money and so much time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, you did. And so the wisdom is to know that you gained something from all of it. The wisdom is to also know that you were not designed to go put yourself in a cave, hide away from the whole world and call that healing, because the whole point of healing was to do what? To enjoy, to taste, to touch, to feel, to experience that version of you that was in the very beginning that you're kind of yearning for, right? When you mentioned grief earlier, like the grief of, I kind of lost some of the things that I was.
Who I was.
I was. And so now the beautiful merging is to say, okay, instead of thinking in terms of this or that, I need you to just clear the slate of judgment, clear the slate of your certainty. Go back with wisdom and curiosity and go pick up the freaking gold. And if there's turds beside the gold, you're not going to rage against the turds. You're just not going to pick them up and carry them forward. And then you gather the gold of that journey and you move forward. And then you leave the metaphorical or literal shit behind and say, okay, well, I used to think that I had to have the most perfect lifestyle and the most perfect rigid routine, and I had to eat perfectly, and I couldn't look at non-organic. I couldn't even think about gluten or dairy or, oh my gosh. Okay, take the truths out of it. That's the gold. Leave the rest of it behind. What matters more? Like I always say that to myself now, because when you're intelligent, you can't act like you don't know all that stuff. You can't act like you don't know that there's an effect to having pesticides in you. Good luck.
Absolutely.
You're too smart for that. So quit acting like you can play that game with yourself now and act like you're an absolute badass that has a genius in you. And then once you start treating yourself like that, you're no longer going to try to bullshit yourself and be like, hey, pesticides don't matter, because you've got this part in your brain that was highly educated. And it's like, bullshit. Then why XYZ? Look at all the evidence I have. So what you need to do is you need to start adopting the and system. And the word that has really started setting myself free, because I was in that paradigm of like, okay, but this is what the research says. And the research also says this. So and used to really piss me off until I started using it with wisdom and integrity. And when you use and with wisdom and integrity, you use it in a different way. So let's take like light, for example. Blue light coming off of devices has all of these physiological effects. Yes. Okay, that's the right answer. So let's take that because we can't deny that. Okay.
Yep.
And the person can live a life where that is such a minimal input in their life that it doesn't have significance over the rest of their robust physiology. Also true.
Right.
So then what does that make you think? The next thing that should kind of crack open in your intellect is, one person will be like, so how do I control for the tiny factor? The other part of your personality is like that, the part that you're probably craving. Okay, so you're saying, like, go back to that like 13-year-old spicy, like make it make sense version of you and really start to embody that with wisdom. It's not, okay, well then I'm just going to do whatever I want. No, you're going to do whatever is true and whatever you're passionate and driven for with intelligence now. Why? Because the younger version of you was going to beat up your body to chase pleasure, dopamine highs. And
Right.
that was enough, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
what we don't want to do is we don't want to bury the part of you that wanted to experience, wanted novelty, wanted to see the world and experience things and do things with her body. But we want to pair her with the wise woman in you that says, okay, sweetheart, you're going to have to max out all of these other factors if you're going to have a detrimental input to that degree. So what would that look like in a life? We're not going to run away from devices and not connect and not enjoy and not experience and even benefit off of everything that the modern world has to offer. What are we going to do? We are going to max it out to what it can offer us. Yeah. And we're going to live a life outside of that that's so robust that being in front of this without blue light blockers and all the things that I used to worry so much about. I used to have so many red lights. I was like in a chicken coop. Yeah. And I'm like, why am I always sweating in interviews? Because you're trying to offset all of the, like, come on now. That's why you're hot, because it's so freaking hot in your office to make it healthy, right? So there's a time and place for everything, but each individual life has to know the balance of the truths. So it's not that you look away from the fact that light matters and that unopposed blue light matters and conveys information to your physiology and alters how you know, your blood sugar levels and your neurotransmitters. It's not blind, just like, I'm just going to act like I don't know anything. Well, you already know it. And the brilliance in the part of it that becomes play is, okay, how do I use everything I know to my advantage? And your advantage is not going to be putting yourself in that pigeonhole, or it's also not going to keep you on a hamster wheel of like, maybe if I learn a little bit more.
Right. And just wait, I'm not ready yet.
Maybe I don't know enough about how to heal in order to heal.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's when you start putting the pause of like, okay, sweetheart. Like, and I had to do this with myself. So I'm going to give you the spark notes of getting a doctorate and so many certifications. I had to listen to translation headphones coming from Germany and Japan and China for the latest and greatest information. I'm going to give you the spark notes of that personality of I need to learn everything in order to prevent everything, heal everything, and be okay and healthy.
Yes. Yeah. Give us a little bit of that background, because I know that's an important part of who you are, like how it evolved you into who you are today and how we're having this conversation.
Yeah. And I'm sure you resonate with a lot of it of
so much
learning and learning and learning and learning. So the spark notes end of all of that pursuit of the intellect is I learned an amazing amount of information. And the more I learned, if I only looked for what was true, you would get the same results if you lived the most wise, simplest, enriched, alive, close to nature life.
Yeah.
A little bit of me was like, no shit. No, this is cool. I love that I got certified in lasers just to find out that sunlight does all of this for free. That feels fantastic to me. But that practical part of your brain always needs to come in and override that pursuit for the next thing, right? So always grow your intellect, always grow your experience, always grow, because that's fun. But if you're a personality that you're learning out of fear instead of love of the information, you're damaging yourself more than you're benefiting. And that's where you have to really start getting to know yourself. Because what if I love learning about neurology? I love reading research, not to heal myself, not because I'm scared, because I like to go and find the little pieces that nobody else is looking for. And I like to put it together and find a way to free people, because it's like my little dark side of my personality of like, oh, you're going to go try to trap them? I'm going to accidentally set them free with the information you gave me. right? So it's fun for my personality. It's fun for my intellect. But in a different body, in a different woman, it's terrifying. It's overwhelming.
Yes.
It's not fun for her. So if she's learning to heal herself, she's damaging herself. That's why we can't say everybody should do this. Because even we both know, like, meal to meal, you're a different woman, right?
Absolutely.
Conversation to conversation, you're a different woman. And when you know that your emotions and your mindset and your self-image moment to moment can even alter how you digest food, but we're going to give you a diet. I'm sorry, but that's not true, right? That's the difference between right answers and true answers. Is a steak, grass-fed, grass-finished, all the words steak, healthy? My next question would be, for who?
Right.
How is she feeling?
Right.
What's going on in her life?
Mind. Yep.
What's the state of her body?
Yep.
Because you can't just say she just needs to eat whatever she feels like and go like that quote unquote intuitive eating. We've polluted that as well.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, there's a science, there's a brilliance to human physiology. You have to play by the rules of your body, because your body there's no reality where it doesn't play by the rules of the physical world it's in. There's this beautiful interference, is what I like to call it.
Okay.
When you master your mind, your will, and your emotions to such a degree, then where do you become the static in this very physical world? That's the entry point. But most people are trying to go rely on forcing and manipulating and managing mind, will, and emotions. That's not the entry point, right? Coercion is not the entry point. When it's a natural, right? The body is magnificent. So think of an athlete in flow state versus someone coaching the athlete and trying to tell the athlete what to do with their physical body. Are you going to have a difference in performance? 1,000,000 times, yes. Reproducible, statistically significant, right?
Yep.
So you've got to put this on life. So what would it look like for a woman to know everything that she knows, to be well informed, right? Because there's this slippery trap that I want to interject here too. I started finding it interesting that we were minimizing women's access to education by trying to make it to where, like, they almost started knowing more than they should know. There's a design at play that is very intimidated by a strong, healthy, embodied woman. If we got a lot of those, that is a force that can't be stopped, right?
Yeah.
I had the absolute privilege of talking to Dr. Gladys. She was 101 when I got to have my conversation with her. I was in a time where I was like, I don't want to be called doctor, and I had other influences pressuring me to, like, not look at everything I had accomplished to the magnitude of what I accomplished. And then I spoke to her and got to hear her story and how she was one of the first women that was even allowed in medical school. And they even tried to push her out through making it so uncomfortable. They didn't have dorms for women, so they didn't have a place for her to stay. Oops. And what did she do? She went and slept in the anatomy cadaver lab. And so I started hearing her story, and I'm like, this is part of the wisdom. Don't let the brainwashing of people that want to limit you, or
keep
minimize you, or
in your
keep
little
you
square.
contained and keep you under their control.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
With your intellect, but more importantly, with your intuition and your wisdom, because when those three things are connected, you want them all. So when I was talking to her, she had to go through so much to become a female physician. And I was at almost in this part of my life where I was going to throw away doctor because I was seeing how perverted it was and how a misuse of power. And then I was like, okay, so are you going to do more for women by giving up what that woman worked so hard to make it possible for you to do with ease? Right? She paved the way, and it was in the same century.
Yeah.
And how many women before her had to work even harder to get her in the door? So then I was sitting there thinking about all this, and I'm like, no. I'm not going to let a male, ironically, brainwash my mind into giving up what so many women fought so hard to provide an opportunity for me. we have to be so whole in our understanding of, I'm also not going to jump into a masculine world and use their tools and their weapons. What
Right.
am I going to do? I'm going to learn the system behind the lines. And then I'm going to use my tools and my weapons that they have no idea how to use. Right? And that's what a woman can do. You don't have to be a doctor, but whatever part of your life that you've gone through, whatever education, however you acquired it, honor it. Don't throw it out. But
Yeah.
then how do we use it in a way that does something for other
Yeah.
women, for our children, for those people in our families, for even men who are available for it, right? It's not a war on other people. We've got to use what we've been given wisely. Think about everything that we know and how even like my mother had no idea about food quality. All of these things that we now know could be
Right.
a factor into our health. But
Right.
what's the perversion?
Mm-hmm.
That with the information, they deliver it with fear so that your knee-jerk reaction is to protect yourself and become rigid in your prevention and your hiding and your perfecting. So you become a busy little stressed out bee. And guess what? Even with the information that's delivered, you're still stressed out. So you were stressed out before because of physiological stressors, maybe your lifestyle, your food choices, your lack of sleep, the light environment, your physiology was stressed out, but you were happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ish.
Yes.
Or you were at least dopamine filled enough to feel like you were having fun, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
now your physiology is still stressed out, but you're stressed out with a lot of right answers. And that's why it's really freaking confusing, because you're like, I'm still in the hamster wheel. My body has changed a little bit, but it hasn't changed to the degree that I intended it to change. And it definitely doesn't have the outcome that I was sold with the information that I gathered. And I'm actually getting more exhausted. And I'm almost kind of feeling like the most dangerous thing that we could ever say, nothing's changing.
Yes. Okay. You have said so much that I'm just sitting here like, There's so much going through my head right now because I almost
Kick
feel
them
like
out.
you know exactly who I am right now without knowing me at
I
all.
am her. I do know her.
But a lot of what you said, you're hitting on so much truth because one, we live in a world where access to information is at our fingertips. And I know that talking to a lot of friends of mine who have also received serious chronic health diagnoses, and I like hate to embody it. It's okay, it's something that's going on in our body right now. But the more I've connected with these women, it's like I'm like, as much as I love you and I want to share some of what you're going through and I want to be a vessel for you to vent and us to exchange ideas and information, it's like we're living in this toxic mind soup because we're just exchanging information. Oh, my doctor said this. Oh, now I'm on this IV. Oh, now I'm taking this supplement. Oh, now my surgeon said I need another surgery. Oh, now I need this. And it's just I'm like, oh my God, there's too much happening in my brain while I'm also trying to like, woosah, relax, not stress, make sure that I'm sleeping, limit the light, get outside. And like now, I live in the Northeast, so like I'm not grounding on the ground anymore. It's just overwhelming. So to your point, like taking that and using it as wisdom. And I also think everything that I've felt intuitively from watching all the content that you share and express, it's like, getting back to trusting yourself because I think we're all human beings, right? But we're all different. Even somebody who has been diagnosed with the exact same thing that I have, we're not apples to apples in how we got there. So we're not apples to apples in how we heal it. And I'm at the point where, now my poor husband, God bless him, he's in this with me too. So he's sending me videos. Like he sent me something earlier, like, oh, the siete tortillas that we buy, like now contain this ingredient that like,
Problem.
causes hormone disruption. I was like,
Solutions have problems. Alert. Our solutions have problems. Yeah.
yeah, I was like,
So think
I
about
hate
what you just
social
said.
media.
Because I want to make sure everyone heard what you just said, but we're going to simplify and we're going to put some poetry on it.
Great.
You just basically said, we've got overwhelming amounts of information and solutions, right?
Yes.
But we're getting underwhelming results.
Yes.
So I want to go into this because this is
Please.
exactly the difference. So you were given a lot of right answers, and that's the problem. They're all right answers. And depending on how you put, one thing I did learn in research, that how you frame something will alter the answer. How you frame the perspective, the premise, they will all alter the outcome. What you're looking for, and we're not even getting into the quantum world of actual observation and what happens on a particle level, right? We're just saying just what you're looking for is going to alter what you find, right? So we live in a world of unlimited right answers. And so what I want to just put into your mind, because it's going to start clearing up the mess. And what we want to do anytime I hear a woman overwhelmed, it's because there is a mess, right? There's either a mess in her house, there's a mess in her heart. But right now, what I'm seeing more than ever, there's a mess in her mind, right?
Yes.
Which causes a mess in her heart because of the things she wanted to believe in so much. That was such a beautiful thing that she felt in her bones is not giving her the results. So her intellect is now raging against her heart. And now we don't have those two things in communication. And a woman that doesn't have that avenue of intelligence, right? Internal wisdom is now cut off from nature. And anytime you're cut off from nature and in isolation, right? What does even a cancer cell act like, right? If we want to use that example. A cancer cell is a cell that thinks that it's separate from the rest of the resources of the body. It doesn't think that it can access everything else that the body has to offer, all the protection, all of the resources. It has to upregulate its availability for sugar, right? And find its own ways to
Some blood
sequester,
supply.
because
Yes.
it doesn't think that there's more than enough, right? It doesn't think that it's connected to the whole. Think about what's happening in society. There's a lot of right answers. Some of them are even true, right? But that's where we have to go pay attention. And so we've got to understand that there's a huge difference between a right answer and a true answer. A true answer, no matter what perspective you come from, it is true. Does a human being have to have air to stay alive? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't care what research study you put that in, restrict oxygen and everything else that comes in balanced air. Will that person survive? No. Okay, so that's what you're talking about with a truth, right? A right answer is looking in on a population that has this environment and this set of physiological inputs and saying, is grain healthy for human consumption? But we're going to test this group of people. Okay, well, if that group of people is living on an island out in the sun close to the equator with lots of community, no pesticides in their food, lots of pleasure, they take lots of time to make their meals, they drink wine, they dress up, they feel beautiful, they have all of this luscious, delicious life. You test them, yes, it's healing.
Send me to that island, please.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yes.
No, what did you just say? Because we're going to go off of it.
Send me to that island.
You have to become that island for yourself. Because I learned that the hard way, because I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Kauai. I found that island. There was fresh fruit. There was more chickens than I had originally had in my vision. But they were fine because the weather, the humidity, all the things. And then, one of my favorite spiritual teachers is Wayne Dyer. And one of the quotes that stood out the most when I was really grasping for oxygen back when I thought I was just not going to make it. One of the things he said was, you're going to take you wherever you go. Right. And that used to mean one thing to me back then. But then the more I grew into my knowing of this medicine and my purpose and my mission, it took on a whole different meaning. And it's exactly that. That should be the best thing anyone could ever tell you is, hey, guess what? You take you wherever you go. And then what did we say? Your life is your medicine. Yes. You determine the outcome, literally, of every single input that comes into your body, your mind, your heart, your soul. You could literally alchemize the cruelest words and turn them into like the purest, just understanding and awareness through everything that you've learned and how you embody yourself, how you have put barriers up in your mind, your self-worth, your self-image, your integrity, right? You can do the same with food. Everyone's like, but no, but yes. That really annoying thing that research found out, placebo effect that you can do, it's really annoying for research. It's even more annoying for medicine. And so we all like to just ignore it. But if we were being honest, when you become that island, when you become the version of you that's like, as long as I have me, I can make any room medicine. I could make any relationship positive for me, even if I can't access the other person. I can make any space literally vibrate at a higher frequency because I am in it, even without my words or actions, women, even without your actions, your presence.
Yeah.
Right. And these are truths. They sound beautiful. And like the other thing that I want to interject here is if some part of you starts rejecting something because it sounds beautiful, that has been planted in you, because the most beautiful thing is the most powerful thing is nature, is you. And isn't it interesting that women are the most beautiful creation? And it's like, oh, if it's too beautiful, let's press pause. If it's something harsh and cruel now, let's turn up the volume.
Yeah.
I disagree, right? Had to learn that one the hard way. Just because it's cruel doesn't mean it's honest. And most things that are truly beautiful, they're beautiful because they're true, right? Think about even seeing a child. Why are children so freaking beautiful? All of them. They're also a little annoying because you have so much energy, but mostly you're glowing, right? Because they're alive.
Yes.
They're more natural than they will be.
Untainted souls.
Exactly. And so they're that natural, like when we talk natural, get out of your mind like I'm using natural products and using natural shampoo and natural makeup. No, I'm saying, are you who you are? And that's going to circle back to how this conversation started. Part of who you are is that woman, that girl that wants to go play, experience, have fun, flirt, explore her passions, find out her desires, find out her favorite flavors, find out her favorite smells and the clothes that make her happy. That is part of you. So to reject that and call it health, I am sorry, but you are so far from the truth. Right? What have they done? They've packaged the part of you that didn't know about maybe like alcohol consumption, smoking, all of these different things that are inputs into your life. And then also the difference between the pursuit of true happiness and the pursuit of dopamine filled, pleasure seeking, distraction based behaviors, right? Yes. But when you have the wisdom, when you merge it all together, when you really create the conversation of the truth is what? It's not, she shouldn't go have fun and explore and be different parts of her own personality and be quote unquote wrong and bad at the same time as being brilliant and beautiful. And if she's not a woman that, just letting her be exactly who she is. And she now understands that there are also environmental factors that contribute to the outcome in a body, right? Because we are walking around in the effects of our life. If you just think of it like that, you're not mad. You're just like, I did that. Like if you stay out in the sun too long, I did that. Not, my body is wrong and messed up and I'm never going to, and I need a doctor and I need to go read about skin. No, you're just like, I stayed out in the sun too long and I did that.
Yeah.
So if you start putting that on everything, that autoimmune condition, that tumor, that is the appropriate response to the life that you lived up until that point. But the freedom is that point. And then pair that with what we just said before. If you were stressed out before, but she was having fun, and now you're stressed out now, but you're not having fun, have you really changed?
No.
No, you just flip-flop the stress and the positive.
Yeah, right.
So in this moment right here, this opportunity, if something just like gave you goosebumps on your arms, the truth is what? Balance it out with wisdom. And so that's the opportunity, is to be like, okay, so wait. Like have that little sassy 13-year-old where like having a slumber party and like, hold on, my parents are saying I have to eat organic and they're saying I have to do this and I need sunlight and I need to ground and I need to have red light instead of just blue light, blah, 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 blah. Organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, blah, 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 all the things. And you're like, okay. And
13-year-old me is like, too many rules.
Exactly.
I'll take one.
Why? Because that's not free.
Yes.
And if you're not free, you're not alive. Just like you're saying. So what does freedom look like? Freedom is not, I'm just going to go be reckless and jump off a cliff because I can. No, that's reckless, right? So be free. Freedom is, I want to go to that concert. I want to go dancing. I want to go try a different cuisine. I want to go reach out to that person to see if they want to have a conversation with me. And she doesn't know me. I don't really know her. Let's see what's going to happen. That's freedom. But what comes with freedom is responsibility, right? And the capacity to manage your mind and your emotions with that level of freedom. Because people start tippy-toeing into freedom. And I know the second I tippy-toed into freedom and I was like, this is what I wanted. And then it's like, now you're responsible for everything. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't want that part of it. And it's like, no, you are the cause to every effect.
Yes.
What kind of cause are you going to be? And then I hope that it's playful for you. For you, I hope you go pick apart and go back and go get the parts of you that delighted you, that thrilled you, that excited you, that like made you nervous and uncomfortable in a brilliant way. And then maybe leave behind the factors that like, were they really adding to your life? Probably not, right? There's a lot of things when I look back, I'm like, she was performing.
I could do without.
She did.
Yes.
Right? So the difference between living and performing, like the nuances in the language are so essential. When you're living, there's no performance to it. It's that like when you fall in love, think about when you fall in love and the whole world disappears and it's just you and that other person and your body is flooded with these feelings. And like a dinosaur could walk past you and you literally wouldn't see it because all of your focus and all of your attention was on that other person, right? That is living. That's why we love love so much. That's why we have an addiction to romance, because it's one of the few things that can override this other part of us, this thing that has been programmed into us. And we get to feel the bliss of our bodies when we're living. And but we attach it to the wrong thing. We're like the person, the novelty of a new relationship. I need more of that. It's like, no, just like you didn't need another diet. You needed to feel how it felt to relax, to trust. This new diet's going to do it for me. This is going to be the thing that changes it. I just know that this one's going to work. You need that prolonged instead of needing to switch it out with another supplement, another pill, another peptide, another this, another. So go as women, go the level deeper, right? It's not the man that's making you have that feeling. It's who you are in front of him. That's in how you're being in that interaction, in that conversation, right? Because why wouldn't you fall in love with every man? Or if you're a woman that prefers something else, every woman, right? Because they don't make you feel the same way. Why do you get addicted to certain types? They make you feel something, for better or worse, right? Get in control of that system. So if you put that on a life, right? Drinking 3 bottles of wine doesn't really make you feel good. Let's get real. Right? It's distracting you away from something that feels worse. That's the truth, right? So if you typically look at the addictions that you're wanting to break, they just do something more than what you're avoiding or trying to cover it with, right? So live your life like you would live a romance, right? And how do you do that? It has your full attention. Haven't we heard be here now, embodiment, mindfulness? But most people don't even like the lives they're trying to be here now in. And I'm like, you know what? It's really easy to be here now if you love where you're at. And it's not a destination, right? Because why? You take you wherever you go. So the destination that you need to work on is how can I make me something that is so delicious, so engaged, so available for the magic, miracles, the experience. Then I want to be with me all the time. And then that starts changing your relationships, right? Because most of the time our relationships do need to evolve, right? And one of the most powerful things a woman can learn is when to walk away, right? You need to know where your commitment and persistence is medicine and when it becomes poison, right? That was a hard lesson for me.
Make it work.
And then how do you know when somebody's not right for you? If they consistently, perpetually, always make you feel worse than how you feel by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then there is no confusion, zero confusion. So tell
And that,
yourself the truth, right?
yes. And I'm thinking how that feeling can be applied to anything in life.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sitting here reflecting so much on everything that you're sharing, and it's like I, for years, was in this corporate job that I really didn't like from the very beginning. And so, did I like who I was when I was there? No. Could I not wait to get out and go teach my dance classes? Yes. I would often say, like, I'm living this double identity, or this job is like sucking the soul out of me.
Yeah.
And then you realize and learn when you're in a situation where there's something going on with your health that it doesn't just happen overnight.
Right.
To your point, it's like your life is your medicine. If that was my medicine, well, it wasn't good medicine that I was taking. It was, and now I'm sitting here thinking of like all the silly little things that I've said to my husband. I'm like, okay, I just want to drop all the therapies, all the expensive stuff, all the supplements that just kind of feel like they're keeping me afloat, and just go like live on a farm for a couple weeks, go take a vacation in the warmth and get some sunlight, go spend time with my nieces and nephews and just play. Like I just throw me in a ball pit with them and I'll be good.
Yeah.
Like I just want to dance and giggle and
So, and here's the
that's it.
truth. Your supplements are placeholders for things that you're missing in your life. Because what are supplements doing? We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but going down that rabbit hole is not fun. Or you can flip it and make it fun and be like, look how much y'all are placeboing yourselves with supplements, people.
Yeah.
If you go look at how many supplements actually have what they say in it, that's why I started moving away from it in practice, because I'm like, the supplement could ruin the efficacy of my medicine. That was a danger point for me. This supplement, like when you get the feedback of like, hey, we did a recall on the bee pollen because it had methotrexate in it. You're like, say what?
Yeah.
So like the truth, like when you go seek truth, go look at the truth and then always give yourself the positive of it. So yes, most of us were duped by what's actually in supplements, supplement manufacturing, ingredient purity, all of those different things. What's the positive flip side? Because that's what I'm always going to do forever in my life.
Mm-hmm.
If it had any effect, it was you, sweetie, not the supplement. You actually had to do double because the supplement was causing damage. So if you actually improved, that was you being more powerful than even somebody trying to keep you down.
Wow.
Big time.
So can I ask, you've totally moved away from supplementation in your practice?
Yeah. So what actually started happening was, I used to say that it was industry trust issues, which a huge portion of it was that, because I couldn't tell the patient, I'm going to give you something and I know that what is in it is in it. And then I would try to just like gaslight myself and be like, but if you believe it's the thing and they believe it's the thing, I've already accidentally figured this out and I can't unlook at the things that, like when they send you out the manufacturing recalls and the methotrexate is in bee pollen. How? And what are the things that we're not even testing for? So then my brain just had a really hard time because I believe in spiritual integrity, right? Not just professional. Professional is the effect of my spiritual integrity. I don't do things on a professional level just for my business sake. No, my spiritual beliefs and me as a human are informing how I ran my business, right? It was the effect of it. So spiritual integrity was so huge. So every time I made a call, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't know that. But then it was again, why? Because it's going to make you push them harder and you know they're not going to like it.
Right.
But then what's more true and what's actually going to set them free? Right? Because I knew the whole time, if I'm giving you stomach acid to help you digest every meal, I'm not helping you go and handle why you're stressed out every time you're sitting in front of a plate of food. So am I truly helping you from a global spiritual standpoint? No, I'm not. So then it was like, as I learned more, I had to purify myself more, purify my practice more. And it wasn't just because it was catchy and going against things. You don't rage against what you're against. You pursue and you promote what you are for. And that naturally has to go against some things. And so it wasn't that I was overtly against supplements. It's just with unless I had the actual supplement and had a whole chemistry testing facility,
I knew
I
exactly
had
how to
lost the faith in saying, I'm going to give you bee pollen and I know it's bee pollen. Could have methotrexate in it. No big deal. Don't worry about that. Let's not worry about that. Right. So it was like this purification just out of information. Right. And like the supplement manufacturers had to send out the recall. So it wasn't even me looking for it. It was being delivered in my inbox as a practitioner. And it was like, are you just going to delete that and be like, oh, good thing I didn't recommend that brand to anybody. Right. And so then it became this whole thing. And then I just realized that consumerism is behind so much of medicine all across the board. And then I had this purity moment too of myself of like, okay, so when you're not, it's not forcing someone, when you're not being honest with them and saying, hey, the reason you're not digesting food is because you're stressed out, you're breaking all the rules of actual human physiology, you need to handle your relationship that's dictating how you feel at the table every single night. You don't need to manage your food and make us pour stomach acid in you so that you burn up the food that you're not digesting. That's not beautiful medicine. Right. And I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. And so then it just naturally evolved because I realized the more that I gave a supplement, like I used to use supplements to like be placeholders. Right.
Sure.
And so for a different patient, like depending on how far their vitality was stripped for them, because most of the patients I saw were after they did chemotherapy, after they did radiation, after they were sent home to die. And they were like, but I'm not dead. Can you help? And I'm like, I wish I could have had you like 15 years ago, but yes, let's rock and roll. So then as a practitioner, I had to use my best tools. And for a person super depleted, the irony was I never reached for supplements. So then where does it fit? It's actually the supplement, because the sicker you are, the worse off you are, the further you need to be away from a supplement. The more you've got going on in the body, the fewer supplements you should take.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that. The people that had MS, ALS, type 1 diabetes, cancer, they showed up with pages of supplements and like
You're
holes,
telling me, sister.
right? And it's exactly backwards. I was like, you don't have the capacity. You're not even digesting your food, right?
What is wild, just to interject on this, because it is exactly what I think you're saying. Also, I have so much respect for you saying that and sharing that and saying, okay, I was made aware of this information or misinformation and how these supplements were produced, and I wasn't going to turn a blind eye to that. I got the flu, like so many other people, right after the holidays. And I was like down and out, and I was just like, whatever, this sucks. Okay, I'm going to surrender. I'm going to rest. I'm going to eat really nourishing food and just sleep. And that's all I can do, and hydrate. And that's it. Get outside and go for a walk. And like, okay, I have had chronic constipation, for everybody listening, for the last like year and a half, between going through some conventional treatment and going through a very intense surgery and having my body trying to like pick up the pieces to heal it. You know, digestion maybe wasn't the primary focus with everything that had to be taken care of after surgery. Chronically constipated for the last year and a half, working so hard on it that I'm probably like white knuckling my digestive tract.
I was going to say, if you could see her hands right now, she's showing exactly what her intestines are doing.
I stopped my supplements for the week that I had the flu. And then like 7 or 8 days later, I looked at my husband, and again, like TMI for, you know, anyone who doesn't want to listen to this, but I talk about digestion all the time. Like, I just had an immaculate bowel movement. And then that continued for like a week and a half. And I'm like, oh, I guess my body just needed a break from breaking all of that down.
Interesting. Yeah.
Isn't it?
So interesting. And that was exactly like, that was the big stop sign in my medicine. Because every single time a person told the truth, took an appropriate aligned action with whatever that truth was, we never had to chase zebras. And so all my medicine that was for all the zebras was getting dusty in a closet. And that's when I was like, okay, touche. That burns a little. Ego's a little crushed. But the sexiest thing was the simplicity. And the body, just like you're saying, thrives. Think about it. Being natural is the easiest. Natural is not how many supplements, when to take them, 3 a day, 2 a day, before the meal, after 3 burps, after the meal, before the bowel movement. That's not natural. Think about it. What's natural? I fell asleep. Yeah. I ate the meal. I had an immaculate bowel movement.
Yeah.
So when you think natural, we're not even, it's been hijacked. Natural is not, I take, instead of PPIs, I take stomach acid and digestive enzymes and bitters, right? When you get into the herbs, a different conversation, but you got to be available for a different level of thinking. But the simplicity of it, because that's why I freaking love the flu season. Because if you're really attuned, and if you have been at least trying to do the work, you get to exactly where you just got. You didn't need all the latest and greatest combinations and the zinc pushing into the blah, 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 and putting this on your belly button. And you needed what you needed until the body said, okay, you're not going to listen. Yes, you will. And so if we could learn from what the flu, quote unquote flu, maybe we should rename it. Because what preceded, even if we could rewind this, and if you're listening, you can. What preceded her saying, and then I got the flu, right? That was the cause. The effect, the demonstration of healing, the healing response that we like to call the flu. He's a fantastic gentleman, right? He made you do what? Sit down, take a break, simplify. Only the best foods for you, my princess. Only you're sleeping until you are done sleeping, my queen. Yep. Nothing that is polluted will go on your skin, in your mouth, through your sinuses. You're not going to focus on how you look today. We're going to focus on how you feel. The flu. He's our enemy? No, he's actually your Prince Charming if you had the capacity to hear it.
Yeah.
And then what's it begging you to do? Why, when we're done with the flu, do we stop doing what worked?
Right.
So let's just process this for a minute, because we're not dumb. We're just misled. Okay. So let's process this so you can feel it in your body. You changed your lifestyle to quote unquote heal the flu. Okay. You simplified down. You put only nourishing things in you. You slept, you rested, you said no. You didn't focus on how you looked. It was all just how you felt because you were forced into it. A little fun side note is you start realizing how good you typically feel because this feels really, really bad. But another part of you knows you're not going to die. But man, if you could go back to how you felt so that you could go walk your dog, put on your yoga outfit, fix your hair, maybe put on some makeup and feel a little spicy, that'd be great. But we're not there yet. Right? But it makes you simplify all the way down, makes you get super, super honest. So much so that if we put it in the world's perspective, it even, quote unquote, healed your constipation, right? But the constipation was just the signal. The best way that I like to explain it, and maybe you can start seeing your body as this, think about getting in an elevator. And you get in an elevator and you're like, I want to go to floor immaculate elimination, right? And that's on floor 13. I'm going to press 2. And then the elevator drops you off at 2. The doors open and you're like, I'm not pooping. I'm going to press 2 harder. And the elevator doesn't move. And you're like, I'm going to stress out in the elevator and press 2 even harder to where the doors jam at 2 because I should be on floor 13 with the immaculate elimination. And the elevator's like, you're pressing 2. And the camera person is watching you like, why is this person freaking out in the elevator, pressing the button? They're on the floor. That's what your body's doing. It's like, you're constipated. We're not eliminating. You're saying you're stressed out. You're overwhelmed. You're putting stuff in me that's altering the hydration and all of this stuff. You're pressing the button and I'm showing you. And you're like, I'm going to press it harder and I'm going to get madder at it, which is going to just keep you on that floor until what? Finger off the button. And then what? The door shuts. And you're like, I want to go to floor 13. Press a different button. Press 13. And then it goes what? Naturally, easily, a little bit longer. Yeah. A little bit longer time, patience, just elevator music. Until what? Ding. You arrive. Immaculate elimination, right?
Such a good analogy.
So when you think about that, think about like how much we end up hurting our body for having an appropriate response. And saying that we're quote unquote trying to heal it or something's quote unquote not changing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not changing your actions, the actions that matter. Food is a tiny variable. Is it important? Yes. Hydration, tiny variable. We're playing with the 20%, guys. Your state before you ingest anything, that's the 80%. But we're going to teach you about food. We're going to teach you about micromanaging food. We're going to make you stress out about the food so that you're always stressed out and nothing can change. You're just going to experience the same thing, but a better quality of rotting food.
For anyone who's just listening and not watching my face, I'm sitting here shaking my head and laughing. It's actually not funny because you
No.
are spot on. What I feel, I'm speaking for myself. We had talked about the flow of this, and I think a lot of it is me and my what's going on in my life right now. But I think this applies to so many people. Prior to knowing what was happening in my body, like, yes, there was a lot of different factors and things that influenced me to get there, but I was teaching people how to not stress about food for a living and
Yeah.
enjoy and eat wholesome foods. And sometimes you go out and have fun and do your thing, and it's like, it's okay. And then I entered this world of, and for anybody who is watching and people that I've worked with and people who have listened to my journey, like, yes, I followed a very specific approach to try to heal my body, and maybe I wasn't looking in the right areas, but it got really restrictive. It got to the point where I was pretty physically fit, like didn't have a pound to really lose, and I was really happy with my body. I was very, active. I did my dance classes, my yoga, like all those things. That wasn't my problem. I didn't need to lose weight, but in the whole process of the metabolic approach, there was a lot of um somewhat one size fits all things that were encouraged,
Can we
including
can we change what you just said there?
yes.
It wasn't that some of it included one size fits all. Now I want you to think of one size fits all as there were enough truths in the approach that you took that there was still an observable outcome.
Mm,
Do you see how there's a difference in that? So
yes.
that's why allopathic medicine also can quote unquote work. There are some truths that can have enough of an effect for there to be an observable outcome. Just because there's truths in a method doesn't mean the method as a whole is true. That's where
Mhm.
we've got to start thinking, right?
Mm.
So that's why even back when I was doing everything that I was doing to reverse my autoimmune conditions, why was some things gradually improving, even though I wasn't free? I was more imprisoned because that's the difference in a right answer and a true answer. What you're doing was exactly what I did. You are accidentally removing variables, right? Even though it's not the way to do it. That's why somebody can go from eating nothing to just eating apples, and they're going to see a lot of symptoms go away. The second they even add a pear back in, they're going to have more symptoms. Why? They were just eliminating variables.
Mm.
That's why when my message started getting parroted by somebody that didn't really understand my message, and it was like, food doesn't matter. I'm like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Food matters a lot. It just doesn't matter as much as the physiological state prior to ingesting the food.
Right.
So it sounds catchy to say food doesn't matter, but that's not the truth. Why?
Mm.
And how do we know that there's some truth to why we even have tried so many diets? Because you saw some sort of an observable shift, whether that was weight changes, skin changes, you felt a little bit more clear, but then you got to the peak of what eliminating that variable could do, and it couldn't go the distance. So then what did you do? You threw out that variable instead of acting wisely and intelligently and being like, okay, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just not complete in the truth of it, right? That's a different way of thinking. It's not food doesn't matter. I tried eating healthy and organic and all this stuff and I didn't heal. And so food doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That is a very lazy way to think, but they profit off you thinking that way because you are going to constantly reach for something else outside of you. The food does matter,
Mm-hmm.
right? It just doesn't matter as much as they've made it seem, right?
For
But it
sure.
matters. And a person that's eating organic and doesn't know everything else about human physiology is going to have better outcomes than a person that's not, because there is an effect, right? And so what's happening is we're accidentally getting effects from truths buried in systems that are not true. And that's why we're like, I am in a tornado of confusion and I'm overwhelmed and I feel like I have to have a PhD, a doctorate, and the capacity to work for the FBI and CIA to figure out what the heck is going on in my body. No, learn from our prince, the flu.
Mm-hmm.
What does he make you do?
Yeah.
Simplify.
Slow down.
And then pay attention, right? I think it was Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She says, wisdom is what works. I would change it a little bit, is wisdom is continuing to incorporate what works. So if you saw a change when you started eating organic and clean and close to the earth, just because you didn't get to completion doesn't mean that didn't matter. Pay attention. Quit trying to be like this or that. Because the truth, and we're going to go full circle. I love when this moment happens. It's food and mood and play and pleasure and dancing and family and hydration and sunlight and community and curiosity and learning and dancing and singing and creating and connecting. And oh, what is that? That's a life.
Yeah.
And how do you increase the dose of anything? Increase the concentration and the duration.
Yep.
So if we took you out of your life right now, the cool thing is everybody listening, you have the exact formula of what you need to do to be this level of good, right? And if you've had the flu, you know that most of the time we are underestimating how good we are. Because then you have the flu and you're like, man, I'm good. No. I can breathe and I can sleep and I'm like not coughing up my lungs. And no, I'm actually doing quite well. Right. So it also like forces you into a reality check. Right. And then the opportunity, it's risky, but it's so freaking alive, is to say, I'm going to take what works from what I'm doing now. And I am going to level myself up. And what does leveling yourself up? Go back and go look at the things that made you come alive, right? What made your heart, your mind, your curiosity, what brought the poetry out of you? And not poetry like I was writing poems on paper, right? But the poetry of like when she's doing this thing, she's in her element. Like, what was it like when people looked in and be like, she freaking loves this. She doesn't know the world exists. I could call her name 13 times and she would never hear me. And look how blissed out, happy, or concentrated she is. We always think that we need to chase the blissed out, euphoric, happy, dancy. But sometimes sitting with the divine feels like writing something profound, connecting something you've never connected, and what happens in your neurology and your cells and your spirit when it's like, oh my gosh, I get it. So it's the devotion to the daily living. And that's when your life really does pour back into you, because we take so many things for granted. I've had so many moments in my life to like shake me awake. I was in a car accident and then I couldn't leave the country because the person I was with was at fault. And a person died and there was a whole court case. And I remember just being like, if I can just get back, I just want to get back to where I can go walk on the beach, hug my cat, sleep in my bed. I just want to go shop at my grocery store. I want to drive my car. I want to be able to drive and go wherever I want to go. And it was like, again, sometimes life gives you a life flu to wake you up and say, what really matters to you? Stop it. When I was in the hospital, I didn't care what my skin looked like. I didn't say, I can't wait to get back home to fix my hair and make my face look perfect. And I didn't want to get back home. It was like, I want to go feel all the things I'm taking for granted in my life.
Yeah.
And so let's stop forcing life to give us the flu. Let's stop forcing our bodies to make us have the healing response that is the flu, to say, hey, you're so much better than you think you are. And you're focusing and you're concentrating and you're dosing the wrong things. What do you run to? Think about all the wisdom you know. Did you have the greatest expert run to you when you got the flu and say, I need you to do this? No, you just said, this is not important. This requires too much energy. This is just annoying. I don't even care. That you did it naturally.
Yep.
That's the brilliance of being natural. And then the more natural and vital you are, the more you've lived in accordance to the rules that this life plays, the cleaner your tissues get, the more robust your tissues get, the more you use them, the more access you have to different capacities and faculties within your body. And then what? Then you're being guided off of intuition instead of intellect. And what does intuition look like? I think we should go do this. I think we should go do that. And I've got a really cool story that just happened, because stories always make more sense to me. But this is what intuition can do. Everyone's always like, intuition is like turn left, and so you avoided the car accident. Well, yes, but life is so much more playful and so much more just, it's adorable and it's magnificent and it's sexy and it's so freaking rad, you wouldn't even believe it. But if you're always just thinking that you're being, directed left because there was a car accident, I want you to start cleaning up your mind a little bit to be a little bit more playful and fun too, because you're not just surviving here, you're playing here. So think about a little kid out on the playground. If they thought that they were just going to be killed at every turn or every swing set, they wouldn't play. That's what a lot of us are doing. That's why we're not playing. We think that breathing the wrong air, being out in the sun for 2 minutes over the D-Minder app, your body will tell you how. You'll start getting pink, right? So understand how your body works, understand how other factors put into it and how they can have an effect, right? To make your skin more sensitive, whatever. And then play with your intuition, which requires a healthy, vital, alive body. And this past weekend, I had been with my partner. We were looking for a record player. We wanted a vintage record player. We don't know anything about record players, but we just knew we wanted one. We've been searching, looking all over, trying to find this record player that belonged in our home. Well, just randomly, he's like, hey, I found this guy. I think he was like on OfferUp. Let's just go check it out. So we drove all the way to go get this record player. And we walk into the house, and I'm one of those that I pay attention to numbers. I pay attention to every cosmic wink that the earth could ever give me. I sometimes read into winks that maybe weren't my winks, but they could be somebody else's wink. And if they didn't see them, I will be more than happy to direct you to the wink I think is for you. And I think the universe is sometimes like, could you chill out a little bit? Anyways, I have no chill. So I started noticing like the address was a number that was very important to my partner. And I was like, interesting. And then I walk into the room where he was going to demo this record player for him. And I don't know anything about it. I really don't care. I want one, but I don't really care. So I was like looking at the art on the wall. And my partner's name is literally on a piece of art in the room. And I'm like, okay, that's really obvious. So I'm not like trying to tap his shoulder and be like, hey, I don't know.
And he's not paying attention to any of this.
To me at all. And I'm in this like cosmic wink world of like something. And the other thing, I don't know if you have a part of your body that speaks to you before something happens.
Oh, yes.
So one of the signals that my body always gives me is I get this hollowness over an ear. So it sounds like it's not tinnitus. It's not like that typical ring in your ear. It's like this hollow bubble, and then it goes away. Well, that happened right when we pulled up. And so I was a little bit nervous because the last time I recalled that happening was the car accident. And it was a very bad thing. We were in a neighborhood I'd never been to. I was like, hey, let's just real quick in and out, like, and I didn't want to be like, because my ear had a hollow over. Don't worry about it. Actually, let's just go check out the record. So that had happened before.
Okay.
And I was just available because just like we know, all emotions are predictions from past experiences. So most of the emotions we have, or even the things that we're afraid of, they're not here. So you're having a familiar feeling in a new situation. So I always like to tell myself, okay, that was a familiar feeling. The last one came with a car accident, but this car's not moving. So let's be available for a different experience. So we're in there and I'm just seeing all these like cosmic winks. And there was this picture of this yellow Porsche. And my partner loves Porsches. And I'm like, something weird is happening. I'm sorry.
Like good weird or like
a good
something wrong?
Because like his name was on the wall. The number was a repeating pattern of his number. This picture of this car that he's obsessed with, this vintage Porsche, like all of these different things. And I could not get his attention. Well, the record player wasn't working. And the guy was like, well, that's strange. It was literally working right before y'all pulled up. And then he had to go take it to his shop to go work on it. So then we had to go into his shop. He had a neurodivergent cookbook written by somebody that wasn't his name. And so I'm just like paying attention. And then there was a quote on the wall, and I was like, is it okay if I take a picture of your wall? That was significant to me. And it was just like chaos. And all of this had to happen. And then the man finally was like, because he started paying attention to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like this recognition. And he's like, it's good to see y'all again. And I was like, excuse me.
What?
And then we had this brilliant conversation. We ended up staying. He fixed the record player. It didn't have a problem. It just randomly stopped working, right? But this is also something that I want you to pay attention to in the play of this story is something going wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had to happen for the gift to happen. Because if it wouldn't have gone wrong, we would have bought it and left. But because something quote unquote broke, or we thought, he was like kind of in a panic because he values quality in his work and was like, oh no, I swear this was totally working before. But it provided this opportunity to meet somebody we would have never crossed paths with such a depth of insight and like one of just a super profound conversation. We sat down, he had organic apple juice because he had a son that had cancer. So we're sitting there talking to this person that we would have never met because a record player pulled us there, right? And then even my partner, who's not as like whimsical as me, he's very practical. He's like, he looked at me and he's like, so the record player not working is how this is happening. And I was like, I mean, I'm not going to say it. But yeah. And so then this really special friendship developed. We ended up hanging out with him again. And before we left, I was like, told my partner, I was like, look at his picture. He has the car that you're obsessed with. And then our new friend was like, oh no, I have it parked right there. I'm like, of course you do. So he got to like do the whole thing and do the car thing. And I'm just like, this stuff is the stuff that reminds me that life is playful. But also, what was the opportunity that I had to have in myself prior to all of that? Right when we parked, something that was a very scary, traumatic moment for me. And also me really honoring what my body does. And when it speaks, right? I had to give an opportunity to rewrite in myself. So in all of this is happening in what? A therapy session? Me meditating at home? Me working with the leading expert in neuroplasticity, trauma rewriting? No, we got an offer up and went and got a vintage record player from some random guy. This is what life will do for you if you are available to what life has for you. And that's why think about the truth now of what I say when I say, when you change, it all changes, right? If the scared version of me, the last version, I have so much evidence on when that bubble hits my ear to stop and leave or run away or associate it only with fear. But if I look at it now, just like we kind of started our conversation too, as like even a negative thing being a direction, I did pause and I did pay attention. But then what does life offer us? You get to choose your perception. Am I going to forever associate this intuitive nudge from my body or whatever, right? Am I always going to say something bad's about to happen? I'm going to stay in the car. Then you miss out on everything that happened. And then when you go into what actually rewrites experiences, relational dynamics, what actually creates neuroplasticity is what profound felt experiences. So what happened getting that record player off of OfferUp gave me more than I could have tried to force with supplements, practitioners, meditations, forcing my body into feeling safe from a moment it wasn't safe in. But what rewrote it? A record player from an amazing human that went through a lot in his own life, repairing a record player that would now find its home in our home. Life wants to do this for you. Healing is not hard, but you've got to think, you've got to not be guided on when words are said, they're guiding you to think a certain way. You have to have the capacity to hear what's not being said, to see what's not being shown, to be able to navigate your path without anyone pointing a direction. Why? Why are you pausing right now, Cassie? I just need to pay attention. And you don't even have to be like, well, because my ear does this thing and da, da, da. No, it's you.
Right. That intuition doesn't happen to everybody either.
Yeah,
It's like,
but it does if we it took me so long to get back in my body, right? And to trust that every ping wasn't a problem. Because if you think every ping of your body, if you would call that tinnitus or a neurozap, or I used to call them all those things, every ping is not a problem. Sometimes those pings are the promises that you're asking for. They're the answers to prayers that you've been begging for. And like the divine is sitting there like, I don't know how else to show you. So I'm going to literally like ping you in the head.
yeah.
Pay attention, because what I didn't know, there was something there in that place for him, for my partner, very literal. And then even on a thing that he would have to tell his own story of why it was so meaningful to him and things he's gone through in his life and his stuff. But my side is that when life gives us those pings in a moment where you are starting to doubt. And I always love when life comes in to make you start doubting your doubt. It's like, actually, no, don't you dare forget that we're here. Don't you dare forget that it's not about surviving. It's not about missing the car accident on the other street.
Right.
It's about playing and to trust, right? You brought that up earlier too. I just wanted that feeling of trust. Why? Trust brings the physiology of ease. But just like in a relationship, if you don't trust, there's a reason. Whenever I worked with people in relationship, I always wanted to make sure that they were not the variable that would have mistrusted even God, right? If they were in his presence, her presence, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where we get to really regain this and be like, you haven't done anything wrong, right? You just need to organize it in a way where you get something from all of it. Get something from that activity because, it sounds a lot like you, like there's a part of me, I never really got to be a wild version of me because I just jumped right into perform and succeed and survive. So I think we all have different versions of that story. And then I just craved play. Like I was always the good girl, the one that didn't do anything wrong. I never even had alcohol. I've still never even smoked a cigarette. And then I was just like, you know what? That life made me so freaking sick. And that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is where imagine if you and I found each other at a coffee shop. And I was like, I don't know why I keep looking at you. My brain wants me to think that it's just because you're a beautiful woman and society. So I notice that you're here and blah, blah, blah. I think that it's that you have something for me and I have something for you. And I don't think it's the record player. No offense, record player.
Right.
Right. But I think maybe if we're both here in a real way, in a true way, talking about our constipation, talking about the truth of what actually goes on, because that's one thing is you can't access this with people if you're not honest, right? You can't access that with yourself when you're not honest. Like if you can't tell yourself the truth, and think about why lie detector tests work. Your body will always have a response to being incongruent and lying, right? And so then when you put that on everything, let your brain go wherever it goes. Let it go touch the places in your life that you're like, whoopsie. And don't get mad at them. Just be like going into a room that was decorated by maybe your parents, society, the masculine thoughts on what was attractive, all of these different things. Being like, I don't like it in here. I don't like it in here. And instead of burning down the house, you redecorate. And then how fun can you make the process of redecorating? It's not a chore. Oh, I've got to go learn myself. No, go shopping, meet a new person at a coffee shop. Maybe they have a taste in art that you've never experienced before. Maybe there's music you've never heard. Do you know how many songs you haven't heard?
Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine. I love music, but I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, we were at this awesome little spot that's a little local ocean town. And this guy had put out his set list. And I'm just like, I've heard 0 of these songs in my life. I know 0 of these artists. And then it just makes you realize, but they're common to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Opens up a whole new world you didn't know existed.
And we really don't need, like if we were in our lives, like talking to that man in his garage, in his shop, was more interesting than any video I've seen in decades. No offense, because we're in a video, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully this video kicks you and puts you back out into life in the most magical way, right? But if we go to coffee shops, because, last thing that I'll just kind of put here is when I started living in a different way, I also wanted to be put in the place that I was supposed to be, right? Because I think a huge part of what we're here for is to contribute, right? To give, right? And it's
Absolutely.
not that I hate when it's like, oh yeah, serve, your service. No, there's like this weight to it. I know when I had to like serve, I was always like, Mom, why are we here? I actually secretly hate it. Oh man, is that a sin? It was just like this whole like, oops. But what we want is we want to contribute. So I always just keep my heart open and just always trust that I'm not ever going to be the party that doesn't show up. Meaning I'm not going to be the one that's not open and available. I'm not going to be the one, because like even if our new friend wouldn't have noticed how my brain was like, and things were mattering to me and meaningful to me, he could have just looked it off. But he was available too. And so there's one part where you need to be available for what life has to offer you. And then you need to be available and know how powerful your life, your story, your art, your taste, right? Because what I was drawn to was passion and dedication and a craft. Not, he wasn't a doctor, a psychologist, but what I was drawn to was there was a depth of integrity and intentionality, and like you could see that there was a method to it. And so when we realize that that's part of what we contribute to others, and then when we just keep an open heart of, I wonder why you're looking at her. Next time you see a woman in a coffee shop, instead of being like, I'm just drawn to her because she's beautiful and now I'm feeling insecure and blah, blah, blah. Or even trying to flip it around, be like, I bet she has something for you. And I know that if she has something for you, the way that quantum physics works out, right, is what? It's an omnidirectional touch, meaning it goes in every direction. So if you have something, I think this was also Wayne Dyer research he brought up in a talk of his, that when somebody observes an act of kindness, if it's a true act of kindness, the observer gets a benefit, the receiver gets a benefit, and here's the kicker, and something maybe to marinate on. The person giving, if done in authenticity and integrity, that's an important, not to be seen, they get the most.
Yeah.
So when you're in a world and you're like, I just need to fend for myself and take care of myself, everyone's manipulating, everyone's hiding, and I'm sensitive and I can pick up on it, use your power. Not to become tainted, but to be planted where you're placed, right? And have it in your heart, like, put me in my place in the most beautiful way. And then I'm going to follow the cues. If somebody catches my attention for whatever reason, I'm going to at least have curiosity. If something is placed on my heart to be like, hey, I think that you're whatever. And notice how most of the things that start coming to you when you're operating in life this way are not, you're beautiful. It's like, something about you is really freaking interesting. And I'm not going to preface it with anything like, I'm sorry if this is weird, but no, I'm weird. And so are you. What makes you weird? I'll show you why I'm weird. Maybe it helps each other, right? And then life becomes literally what we see in movies. But we're not being in our own movies. And then our bodies are getting the results of what it actually feels like to be in our life. Isolating, restricting, picking apart. Like even in our attempt to heal, we're just mutilating ourselves, picking and picking and picking and picking and picking. We're like, why don't I feel safe and happy and fulfilled? Well, instead of your parents picking at you and society picking at you and teachers picking at you and doctors picking at you, now you've internalized it and you have actually put more poison in your veins because you at least had to go to the clinic every 3 months or every 2 months, or you only see your mom every whatever. And now you're the picker. And guess what? You never leave. So why are you not changing? Because you probably haven't changed what actually needs to change.
That hits.
You feel it?
I do. I really do in so many ways. And so many of the stories that you've shared, and just, even what you just said about like walking into a coffee shop and just, it's like almost like clean slate with your mind, just opening up your
Yeah.
mind to experience life again
Mhm.
instead of living in this little narrow reality and story that feels really shitty to tell myself over and
Yeah.
over, or whoever is kind of living in this existence of just, you know, repeating the same story, repeating and dragging like all of those emotions and all of that, like,
Well, and
pent
think about what you're saying neurologically. That's in the
up.
program of how your neurology works. If you're not in command of your mind, you are in autopilot. Why are you in autopilot? Why would a human body be in autopilot? It's maxed out. You only
Mhm.
access conscious everything when you have enough resources available. But most people are autopiloting, cookie cutter, copy pasting the same freaking stress, worry, concern. We're not doing what the brain actually needs to rewrite it, right? You need what we talk about it like it's everywhere, people. Lived experiences, not watching a video on your app. It's go out there, live something different, give your brain the evidence of what is different in you. Your brain is not against you. It again is showing you what you're asking it to do. And just like we know, everyone talks about, so many people know reticular activating system. And I'm like, we shouldn't know that word. We should just know how to use it.
Right.
We should not, like, we don't need to know RAS. How are you using it? Go to a coffee shop and look for somebody interesting. The last story I'll tell you that forever, like, is just ingrained into my brain was I studied abroad in Spain in college. And I wasn't really into poetry, but I was a little bit into poetry. And I'm still on the hunt for what this man's name was, because you'll see on why it matters. But anyways, so I had gone to a coffee shop and I was just enjoying like the romance of that way of living. And I had really never experienced any culture like that. And so I was sitting there and there was this older gentleman that had like the round glasses and like
Okay.
was dressed just perfect, but not overly done. Like he just was straight out of a movie. And he was
Yeah.
reading a newspaper and had a cigar and like literally straight out of a movie. So I couldn't stop looking at him because I'm like, I feel like I'm on set.
Yeah.
And so he saw me see him and we started having a conversation. He knew English because my Spanish was not near enough to have an engaging conversation at the time.
Mhm.
And I told him that I had just got into poetry and into Spanish poetry. And we had this whole conversation about it. And at the very end, he was like, well, right now, because I told him I don't really know a lot of poets, but right now, if I had, because he asked who my favorite poet was. And I was like,
Okay.
I don't know his name. But the poetry book that I'm obsessed with, or the writing that I found like in a newspaper at the park was this. And I was like, I need to find the newspaper because I need to clip it because I need to find him so I can read more of his stuff. And he was like, or you could just talk to him and
Stop it.
ask him what else he's written. And I was like, or I could do that. And I'm like, what? And so
No way.
this world-renowned poet at a coffee shop reading a newspaper. And then I just remember being like, because it wasn't loud and in your face of he's this well-known, it was quiet and rich and saturated. Like I can't explain it until you feel something like that. And I just remember being like, because I came from just like a frantic life of not really being in my body, not feeling, no poetry, no music, no, oh my gosh, it was just so not there. And I just remember being in his presence, being like, whatever I'm feeling, like the complete fascination with how at peace I feel. And I wasn't enamored because I knew who he was, right? We could all embody life that way and even be available for really cool stuff. To accidentally, now if I could accidentally run into David White, I would never miss him. I know exactly who you are. I know your name. I have all your books. This will not be missed on me again.
Oh, that is so cool. I mean, And I think these stories that you're sharing, it's like you just kind of trusting that little nudge. I
Yeah.
think so many of us are used to one, like numbing ourselves in some way, whether it's the distraction of like our phones or, whatever, our children or what we're watching on TV or the thoughts that fill our heads. It's like, no, what I'm gathering from everything that you've shared so far is like really simplify things and pay attention to what falls into your presence and pay attention to the things that bring you joy and do more of that. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be so strict and rigid and trying to like square peg round hole
Yeah.
this whole healing
Well,
process.
and just think of the play of, even like if you have the privilege of having children, study what they're showing you. Because what do? Oh my gosh, that's cool. Oh my gosh, that's cool. What does that taste
Yeah.
like? Don't put that in your mouth. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, if we could have that, like, because why do
Constant
kids
exploration
learn to
and
stop trying and
curiosity.
tasting and going up and like, no, don't go ask them why their nose is so big. Don't go.
Yeah.
Like, what if we let our curiosity in that? Because we're such playful, like when you really get to know somebody, right? They're so
Mhm.
playful. When I'm with my sister, or somebody I really trust and I feel really safe with, what do we turn into? Absolute, like, ridiculous lunatic children. But you're accessing that part that's just the flow and the play and the reason that
Mm.
we're here, right? You're not here to heal. That's the biggest, most backwards thing ever. You're here because you heal. Every scratch, everything, right? And to solidify it in your mind that healing and death touch once, one time. And in that moment, you will understand it all. But until then, live, play, experience. And what a cool design. Like, think about the beauty of this. You are designed to benefit from what truly makes you feel good, chemically in circulation in your blood. You are improve your life. The more your life matters to you, the more it fills you, the more it means to you. You get more from it.
For sure.
Does that sound like the design of, like, I don't know, a creator or a universal law that is anti you, against you?
No.
Or one that is so ridiculously for you that it's almost too beautiful to grasp?
Mhm.
But the truth is if you feel genuine, true good, not synthetic, not manipulated, but if you are in a moment of like, right now, this conversation feels good, guess what's in circulation in your blood? In order to feel it, your blood has to match that chemical signature. So for however long you can keep this feeling of this conversation in your blood or something beautiful that happened and prolong the duration, that blood chemistry gets longer access to your tissues.
Mm.
You get a more profound effect from that cause. And keep it super simple. And that's why truly feeling joy, happiness, contentment, peace over I'm going to supplement my way into not feeling as anxious as I did before. You're not helping your body.
Mm.
You're trying to manipulate it out of the truth. And how do we change the quickest? Tell the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is exactly like what you were courageous enough to say. I have healed myself, quote unquote, healed, right? I have intellectually thought that I was healing myself into a freaking cage. How many stories do we have to hear of the person that was diagnosed, given up on? They go and travel the world, they heal themselves, and they live for 30 more years.
Yes.
One should be enough.
Mhm.
One should be enough to be like, we
Yeah.
don't freaking know anything. Like, I love thinking back of when I was like a baby doctor and I was so certain. I'm like, oh, you've got constipation. Let me tell you. Oh, you've got a cough. I got something for you. You
Yeah.
have a cat. I can do that too. Right. And then now that I've gotten to here and like literally like somebody close to me will be like, so-and-so has a prostate, swollen prostate. What supplements? And I just like feel this like intellectual pause of like, I have so many,
Mm.
many questions.
Yeah.
And no supplements, ironically.
Yeah.
And you won't understand why I'm in such a like, overwhelmed state right now, because you're like, that's what you do, right? I'm like, not really, but
right.
confusion. And so it literally is just like simplify everything down. Know that with everything we know, we don't know. And so when you get to that, okay, well then utter futility, do an experiment. It's always my favorite thing because that's how I even got into this sparkly world because I was so like practical and by the book. And then I did an experiment of like, okay, so if this mind thing is so true and being positive and optimistic really can alter things, let's freaking go. Because I like data. Show me the proof, right? If it interests me enough to put into my life, that's of value. And then depending on how I experience it in my life, I give value back to it, right? And it makes life fun. And you're always that crazy person that your friends calling me like, what experiment are you doing now? When I say like the only research that matters is the research you do on yourself, because now you've got the perfect research design because you're in control and you can eliminate all the other variables. And so then live it. And then what I find brilliant is it always pushes me to have to work on the places in me that weren't strong enough, capable enough to go through with the experiment. Because then it's like, okay, because like my most favorite experiment I ever did was when I was like, okay, let's try this positivity princess thing. Positive Polly, let's go. You got 3 days, change my world, right? And I was all sarcastic about it. And then it was like, okay, so to put that into practice, what does that look like? And then you go into the neurology of like, okay, so you always have a choice. Like, oh my gosh, this is the most work I've ever done in my whole freaking life because right now I'm annoyed. But according to neurology and all this other stuff that I'm learning, I have a choice for every situation that happens. I get to put on meaning to everything that happens. Do you know how much work that is? So if you're being a rigid scientist and you're going to do the experiment, you're signing up to work your absolute butt off. And it's going to push you in ways that your therapy, your relationships, all of these other things have never pushed because you actually have to be honest with yourself because you're trying to get a good research experiment done. Right. Yeah. And if the research, if you're the participant that wasn't doing what the research design said, you got thrown out. So you can't get thrown out of your own research study because then you don't have any results. Participant didn't participate.
Participant denied.
Yeah. So then it's like participant has to level the F up, right? To be able to choose a different outcome in this situation where her previous version was, I'm going to be hard on myself. I'm going to be very judgmental. I'm going to criticize myself. And when you're in that state of like, but I have every reason to, it's like, but sweetie, you're in an experiment right now. And according to science that we're trying to disprove, it's saying that do you or do you not have a choice right now to make this mean something else and take a different action? And you're like, touche, positive Polly, let's go. And then what happened after 3 days of the most relentless, like the heaviest labor I've ever done in my life? Positive Polly experiment. If you're listening to this, do it. Come back to me.
Oh, I'm doing it.
It changes your life. It's annoying how hard it is. But then at the end of the day,
you have to consciously stop at every single action and recognize your thoughts on autopilot.
Catch it in real time and being like, no, I want to actually throw a fit and go distract myself and do the things that make me feel better. Like that's not part of the research design, sweetheart.
Yeah.
You're being a scientist right now, not Cassie. It puts this level of like, and it calls you out on your bullshit. And to be able to be the part of yourself, to call yourself out on your bullshit is going to be the way that you get to become the island that you so desire. Because oftentimes who's going to be the quickest one to be like, no, Cassie, that thing happened to you, that car accident, that awful, awful relationship, that person that stole from you, all of that happened. So I'm going to give you just go do what makes you feel better.
Yeah.
No,
crawl back to your
I need you to be a rigid, like the scientist whose drug is on the line and they need the research design to be up to par. And so then it also makes you access, right, the watcher that we all talk about. The part of you that watches yourself doing all these things, that knows when you could have chosen better, that judges, that you feel like judges you. They're just observing. You're the one translating it, right? And so then you are forced into accessing that. Why? Because that's the unbiased observer, just being like, why are you struggling so much? You say you have so much control over your mind. Why are you struggling so much to be positive Polly that you make fun of all the time.
Yeah.
She's so easy to write off. Everyone wants to make fun of her. And that's where one time, when I did that experiment a long time ago, I was like, you don't take your rainbows for granted when you've worked your ass off for them. And being positive is not a sign of weakness or like when you do it in a true way, that person is stronger. If you have a positive Polly in your life that's true, you need to sit down with them and say, how? Show me. Because we are in a saturated soup of pessimism, fear, facts, evidence on why we should be terrified, minimized. So you think all the super sensitive, positive Pollys out there aren't here for a reason? We're the ones that can detect the bullshit before the bullshit gets thrown in our faces. We've seen it a mile away for 10 years already. And now we're super saturated and, on social media and all this bullshit. We can see the people that are using AI. We can see the people that are just copying other people and covering their butts with misinformation and performing and all. We see it. You think we're not supposed to be here right now?
Yeah.
And the ones that actually did the work to not cover it up but become strong enough to hold their sensitivity, they're on the front lines. Why? You don't follow a leader that's panicking. You also don't follow a leader that's hiding. So why do you think, from my perspective, men and women, but a lot of women have had to stand up and be like, no, I see what I see. Oh, no, you don't. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I had to be strong enough for this amount of time for nobody to trust me, to trust myself. And the muscle that develops, the mind that develops, the emotional capacity and attunement and neuroplasticity that develops, try to touch her. I dare you.
Yeah, you're unbreakable now.
I dare you. Everything that you put those people through, all the manipulators a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, a couple of years ago for me, that put the sensitive, the empathic, the overly attuned people through the ringer, they think that they got out clear and that the softies, the squishies, the sensitives, that they're just withering away in their weakness. Oh, I'm sorry. No, y'all strengthen something you will never have the access point to strengthen. And we get to live in the benefits of that. That's the beauty of this life, right? You reap what you sow on a literal physiological level as well. So if you went through a hard time, I am so glad. I did too. You did too. If you doubted yourself, if you were the oversensitive, the one that got manipulated, the one that got stolen from, you know why we're having this conversation right now? Because we all worked on what that hit. But when you work on something that got hit and you strengthen it and you fortify it and you understand it and you realize that if it holds a power and you empower that power, you took away the access point for little like slithery, sneaky, slimy, manipulative liars. And guess what? Once you've seen it once, you never, ever, ever mistake it again.
Yep.
And like, it sucks because it's like, why do we have to learn the hard way to know that people lie and they manipulate and people don't mean what they say and they don't have spiritual integrity? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have that in your body to be able to pay attention. Right? And you learn one time. You learn one time. If you want to hide and run away, you're going to have to learn again. Right? Not out of punishment. Like nothing your body does is punishment. Right? I always think like, okay, but why the design here, guys? I get it.
Right.
Jeez Louise, we could do it differently. So that's just where my mind goes with all of it. It's so much greater than healing. It's so much greater than a symptom in your body. It's so much greater than that diagnosis. Change the language around it. Change your perspective. Change your premise. And the premise shift that changed my life and changed my medicine was, instead of looking from the body is wrong, she is wrong, how do I help her? Look at it from her body is right, she is right, how do I help her? Yes. You will go into a different galaxy. You will ask different questions, get different answers. The same questions that you would ask from the flawed premise will have totally different outcomes. And like, what's the difference in incorporating a right answer versus incorporating a truth? A truth will work every single time. It has to. It's law. A right answer depends on the premise, the perspective, the person, the situation, the whatever.
Did you enjoy this episode? If so, I would appreciate you taking a moment to please leave a 5-star review. Every review helps visibility with this episode to reach more people. And I am on a mission to help people learn alternate resources to support themselves in their healing journey on their road to health. So please take a moment to leave a review, leave a comment. I read every single one and I respond back. And of course, the most helpful thing you can do is to share this episode. If you found it helpful, if you found it entertaining, please share it on social media, send it to a friend, a loved one, someone you think could find this helpful. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.